Hello everyone. Today in Head and Neck series we are going to talk about palate. It's a partition between nasal cavity and oral cavity. Interior two-thirds of the palate is made up of bones called as hard palate, whereas posterior one-third is muscular. Palate plays important role in swallowing and speech production. I'm Dr. Anita Mahajan from Department of Anatomy, Maulana Azad Medical College. Competencies which we have to cover for the pharynx of palate and tonsils are: describe the morphology, relations, blood supply and applied anatomy of palate and tonsil. Describe the composition, muscles of the soft palate, its action, nerve supply, blood supply and applied anatomy. Describe the components and functions of the Waldeus lymphatic ring. Describe the boundaries and clinical significance of piriform fossa. Describe the anatomical basis of tonsillitis, tonsillectomy, adenoids, and peritonsillar abscess. Describe the clinical significance of Killian's dehiscence. Precise learning objectives for the soft palate are: we should understand the composition of soft palate. We should know the attachment of muscles of the soft palate. What are the muscles and their attachment, nerve supply, action, and the nerve supply of the whole soft palate and its blood supply, what is the function, and its applied anatomy. To understand the role of soft palate in swallowing and in speech production, it is important that we should know the complete anatomy of the soft palate and its muscles and the action of those muscles, which is very regulated and coordinated to control these actions of in the swallowing and speech production. Let's take a case. A 53-year-old male presented with change in voice since 1 month. The change in voice is also called as rhinolalia. And he also complained of difficulty in swallowing solid food and nasal escape of fluid from the ipsilateral nostril. When we did oral examination, soft palate was found to be deviated. Detailed examination revealed left vocal cord palsy and isolated palatal palsy. Here we are going to concentrate only on the palatal aspect. There is a impairment in the muscles of the palate function. So let's see what is the anatomical basis of these symptoms and how it is going to affect the functioning of the palate. So for that we need to understand the normal anatomy and the function of the muscles of the palate. Palate, they are located between the nasal cavity and oral cavity. They are like partition present between the nasal cavity and oral cavity. So this structure is palate. Here this is palate between the nasal cavity and oral cavity. They act as a partition. There are two parts of the palate. From this interior two-thirds of the palate is bony, called as hard palate, whereas posterior one-third of the palate is muscular, fibromuscular structure, which is called as the soft palate. So this is the soft palate. Here this part is the up to the here is the hard palate, and posterior one-third, which is hanging from the posterior border of hard palate, is the soft palate. Let's see the direction of the palate. It is concave towards the oral cavity in anterior-posterior direction. So if you see the palate, it is concave towards the oral cavity in anterior-posterior direction, as well as side-to-side concavity towards the oral cavity. And the sides of the palate, they are in continuity with the superior alveolar arch, which is the part of the maxilla. Okay. So on the sides, they are going to be continuous with the alveolar arches. See, it is highlighted. This is hard palate, this is soft palate. Coming to the hard palate, let's see the bony composition. It is made up of palatine process of maxilla. These are the horizontal plates extending from the maxilla towards medially. These are horizontal plates called as the palatine process of the maxilla. So they form the anterior part, whereas posterior part, in this picture you can appreciate the sutures between the bones. Okay, so these are the palatine process of the maxilla. They are going to make this suture in the midline, which is called as intermaxillary suture. So palatine process of maxilla. Then posteriorly, this is the horizontal plates of the palatine bone, and the suture between the maxilla and the palatine component is the palatomaxillary suture, whereas between the palatine components it is interpalatine suture. So it is almost like a suture formed between the various components of the maxilla and the palatine bone. So there is a palatine process of maxilla, and horizontal plates of the palatine bone forms the hard palate. On the sides it is going to be continuous with the superior alveolar arches. There is a posterior border which gives attachment to the soft palate, and in the midline posterior border is projecting as the posterior nasal spine. Remember this, and what we can see over here, these are the posterior nasal apertures. And just see the important landmarks over here so that we can understand clearly the soft palate and its muscles. Here this is what this is seen is the pterygoid plates. This one is the medial pterygoid plate, and this one is the lateral pterygoid plate. On the medial pterygoid plates, the lowermost part is the pterygoid hamulus. It is projecting as the pterygoid hamulus. This is important because we are going to talk about the muscles of the soft palate. So here is the pterygoid hamulus. In this oral aspect of the hard palate, in the midline anteriorly there is a canal which is called as the incisive canal. So various important structures, especially the nasopalatine nerve from the nasal cavity enters into the oral aspect of the hard palate here. Then we have the greater palatine foramen. This you must have done in the osteology component of this. And there are lesser palatine foramina for the passage of the greater and the lesser palatine nerves and vessels. Okay, so the important aspect is the presence of the greater palatine foramen, lesser palatine foramen, and the incisive foramen over here on the oral aspect of the hard palate. And as I said, this is also a part of the partition, and it helps in swallowing and speech production. So if we look at the hard palate from the inferior aspect, then what we can see, the hard palate which is covered with the mucous membrane. So this is the mucous membrane which is completely visible over here. See, so this is the mucous membrane of the covering the oral aspect of the hard palate, and this is after removing the mucous membrane. What we can see is the some mucosal part having the palatine glands, especially in the posterior 1/3 portion of the hard palate, and this is the soft palate actually. Okay, so hard palate would be up to here. So there is a covering of the mucous membrane. There is a midline raphe. The raised mucosal margin is there in the midline, which is called as the palatine raphe. And from the anterior aspect of the hard palate, there are transverse mucosal folds are running on each side. They are called as the rugae or the transverse palatine folds. Can you see? These are the transverse palatine folds. Apart from this, there are palatine glands, the mucous salivary glands present in the posterior 1/3 of the hard palate. This after removing the mucosa of this. Clear? So remember the palatine raphe over here, the transverse palatine folds, and after removal of the mucous membrane, in the we can appreciate the mucous salivary glands. here in the submucosa. These are called as palatine glands, especially more in the posterior 1/3 of the palate. Then about the lining epithelium, the oral aspect of the hard palate is lined by the thick keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, whereas nasal aspect, naturally the nasal side is going to be lined by the ciliated columnar epithelium, the respiratory type of epithelium. Fine. So on the oral side we have the stratified keratinized squamous epithelium, okay, which is thick, and on the nasal side ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay, coming to the soft palate, as I've said, these are musculoepineuritic flap between nasal and oral cavity hanging from the posterior border of the hard palate. So when you with the open mouth, somewhere here is the end of the hard palate, the posterior border of the hard palate. From there it is extending downwards and posteriorly with the concavity towards the oral cavity. This is the soft palate. Its free margin in the center has this conical projection which is called as uvula. It acts as a flap wall and it is responsible for closing the or making partition between the oral cavity and the oropharynx, and from between the oropharynx and the nasopharynx. When this flap is lifted up and backwards, then it is going to close the nasopharynx and the oropharynx. It makes partition between the naso and the oropharynx. Whereas when it is pressed towards the tongue, it separates the oral cavity from the pharynx. So with these the flap well actions, it is helping in swallowing and phonation. By changing the air column, it helps in phonation, and by preventing the passage of the food into the nasal cavity towards the nasopharynx, or when the food is in the pharynx, it prevents regurgitation of food into the oral cavity. So the flap valve action is important for the soft palate. By that it is helping in swallowing and phonation. See, this would be the soft palate. So about the borders and surfaces of the soft palate. Soft palate has got two surfaces, superior and inferior surface, and has got anterior border, posterior border and lateral border. If I have to mark the hard palate, so this is the area of the hard palate. This would be the hard palate. Then if I have to mark the soft palate, the posterior 1/3 of the whole palate is the soft palate. So with the yellow I am marking the soft palate. So this is soft palate. Okay. So this would be the posterior border of the hard palate, which is giving attachment to the soft palate. So soft palate has got this anterior border, see, which is attached to the hard palate, and this posterior border which is hanging free. Then it has got this surface which is called as the oral surface of the soft palate, also called as the inferior surface. So this would be the inferior surface, whereas this is the superior surface of the soft palate. Okay, it is projecting superiorly and posteriorly. Fine. So that's the superior surface. So posterior-superior surface, or this can be called as antero-inferior surface. Again, look for the direction. The concavity is towards the oral cavity in this direction also, and in side-to-side direction also. In this picture, which is on the left side, here this is the posterior view. This view is posterior view. So what we are seeing is the posterior nasal aperture. This is the nasal septum. This is nasal septum. Nasal septum. Okay. So here is the posterior end of hard palate giving attachment. So this is the soft palate. So this would be the superior surface of the soft palate, whereas this one is the inferior border. Okay. So this is the anterior border or the superior border. This is the inferior or the posterior border, And these are the lateral borders of the palate, which are going to be continuous with the lateral wall of the pharynx. So on lateral side, it is going to be continuous with the, in continuity with the lateral wall of the pharynx. So this is posterior view, remember, and this is the sagittal section. Sagittal section, okay, of head and neck. Clear? So the partition separating the nasal cavity, this is nasal cavity, and this is oral cavity. Clear? So has got this inferior surface, superior surface, anterior border, posterior border, and there are two lateral borders. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now let's see what is the structure of the soft palate. As we are saying, it is a fold of the mucous membrane hanging from the posterior border of the hard palate. Suppose this is the posterior part of the hard palate. So this is the fold of mucous membrane, okay, and what it contains? It contains palatine aponeurosis. So there is some aponeurotic sheet present here. Let me use green color for that. This is the aponeurotic sheet, which is called as the palatine aponeurosis, which is the tendon of the tensor veli palatini. Then there are muscles attached to it. So the musculoaponeurotic sheet, the muscles, okay. So these are the muscles attached to the palatine aponeurosis. Then naturally this is the mucous membrane, so it is going to have the lining epithelium. This is the nasopharyngeal side. So this is the related with the nose and nasopharynx. So the epithelium is on this side is the ciliated columnar epithelium. Ciliated, क्या लिख दिया मैंने? Ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay. Whereas the oral aspect has the stratified squamous epithelium, which is non-keratinized. Okay, non-keratinized squamous epithelium. Okay, but here the part of the surface has the same epithelium as the oral aspect. Okay, so this is approximately where the Passavant ridge is there. From that level, I will tell you what is Passavant ridge. For time being, remember from that area above that is by the ciliated columnar epithelium, whereas area towards the oral cavity, this is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, then this is the submucosal area, so where we are going to have the palatine glands. It is more on the oral aspect, so this hole is going to be filled up with the palatine glands. I'm using the yellow color for this. So a lot of palatine glands are here. At the same time, I forgot to mention that in this aspect there are taste buds present in this aspect. Okay, so we will get the taste buds on the oral mucosa. So this is the composition of the soft palate. So mucous membrane fold containing the palatine aponeurosis, 5 pairs of the muscles which form soft palate. There are palatine glands in the submucosa with the neurovascular bundle within it. So that's the complete soft palate. Okay, composition. Coming to the muscles of the soft palate, it has 5 pairs of muscle, out of which only one muscle is intrinsic muscle of the palate, which is the musculus uvuli, and rest all are extrinsic muscles. That means there is one attachment is somewhere outside the soft palate. Only one muscle, the musculus uvularis, is the native component of the soft palate, which is seen over here. This is the musculus uvuli muscle. Musculus uvuli. Okay. So this is intrinsic muscle. Intrinsic muscle. Okay. Rest all are extrinsic. So what are the muscles? Let's name one by one. The levator veli palatini. This is the number 1 set. The paired muscle coming from the basal part of the skull from above and reaching up to the soft palate. Number 2 is tensor veli palatini, again coming from the upper base of the skull, descending down, reaching up to the soft palate. Okay. 3 is the palatopharyngeus, 4 is the palatoglossus, and 5 is the musculus uvuli muscle. So all these are paired muscle. So total 5 pairs of muscles, 5 pairs. Only one is intrinsic. Intrinsic. That means the native muscle of the soft palate. Fine. So we'll take the details of these muscles one. First muscle is tensor veli palatini. Veli means velum, which is like a curtain or a fold, the covering fold or the curtain-like structure. So this muscle originates from the base of the skull, moves downwards over here. This is tensor veli palatini. Okay, so this moves downwards and curved like this and get attached to the posterior border of the hard palate. Okay, so what is the exact attachment? I'll show you that these are the posterior view. These are the posterior views. So this blue structure is actually the auditory tube, the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube, which is lying in the sulcus tubae. This you must have seen in the when you were doing the norma basalis. So the sulcus tubae is related with the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube. See over here, it is related with the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube. And we are what we are doing over here in this picture on the right side, this is posterior view. So what we have done, the part of the skull from the posterior aspect is removed and we have cut open the pharynx. So if we approximate, these are the two cut edges of the pharynx. If we approximate it, we are going to get the tubular covered portion of the pharynx. Fine. So what we can see, after once we take the midline incision and separate the walls of the pharynx, we can appreciate the posterior opening of the nose, which is the posterior nasal apertures with the nasal septum in the midline. What we are seeing over here is this is the superior surface of the soft palate and its lateral continuity with the pharynx. Here this is the oropharynx component and this is the laryngopharynx part of the pharynx. Okay, but we have to concentrate on this area right now for the palate. So now look at the picture on the left side. This is the nasal septum and these projections are the turbinates, the nasal concave, dividing the nasal cavity into various parts. Okay, so these are the projections from the lateral wall of the nose, nasal concave. So middle nasal concha and the inferior nasal concha is seen over here. The superior and the highest will be above, which is not visible from this aspect. In the midline, what we can see is the nasal septum. So here, this projection I have told you in the beginning, that remember the pterygoid humulus. One thing you have to remember, when we were doing hard palate, we were looking on the hard palate from its inferior aspect. Right now we are looking at this from the posterior aspect. So this is the medial pterygoid plate. If we remove this muscle, this is the medial pterygoid plate and this extension is pterygoid humulus. So this tensor veli palatini muscle originates from the lateral aspect of this blue structure, which is the auditory tube, from the lateral aspect of the auditory tube, and from the scaphoid fossa, and from the spine or sphenoid, and runs downwards like this, and it winds round the hamulus, the pterygoid hamulus, turns medially and anteriorly, it attached to the posterior border and under surface of the hard palate up to the palatine crest. So I hope you remember what is the palatine crest and the posterior border of the hard palate. So this is something like this. This is the posterior nasal spine, this is the posterior border, and few millimeter anterior to the posterior border, this projected, there is a ridge, bony ridge, which is called as the palatine crest. Palatine crest. So the aponeurosis is attached to this border and to the surface which is between the palatine crest and the, so this is how the aponeurosis which is coming from this side is attached like this. This is from this side, this is the tendon, and just spread like this, expands like this. So this expanded portion of the tendon of tensor veli palatini forms this palatine aponeurosis. I hope you are able to understand this. So this is the palatine aponeurosis, which is the expanded tendon of the tensor veli palatini attached to the posterior border and the undersurface of the hard palate up to the palatine crest. So this is the aponeurosis. Okay. So this is tensor veli palatini attachment. So origin, again I will revise. This blue structure is the auditory tube. Okay. Here this is the pharyngeal aspect of the auditory tube. If you trace it laterally and backwards, it is going to be in connection with the tympanic cavity or the middle ear cavity. So from the lateral aspect of the auditory tube, it's lateral lamina, from the scaphoid fossa, from this spine or sphenoid, and then it runs downwards, winds rounds the hamulus, pterygoid hamulus, and get attached to the posterior border of the hard palate and the surface of the hard palate, forming the palatine aponeurosis. See, the marker is on the auditory tube. We'll just revise it. The origin, lateral part of the auditory tube. This is the schematic view, and in the bone what you can appreciate is the attachment coming from the scaphoid fossa, which would be here, and then spine of sphenoid, and the lateral part of the auditory tube. This would be here, and then it runs on the lateral aspect of the medial pterygoid plate, reaching up to the hamulus. It becomes tendinous, then it will wind round this and get attached to the posterior border of the hard palate. Similarly, on this side also, here would be the scaphoid fossa, the spine of sphenoid, part of the sulcus tubae, or the medial aspect of the, lateral aspect of the auditory tube. Then the muscle will run downwards, and the tendon will wind round, get attached like this. Okay. So remember, this is the hard palate. This would be the posterior border. Right. So this is the attachment of tensor veli palatini. In this picture on the left side, let me explain you. This is the auditory tube, the medial end of the auditory tube. So this would be the lateral aspect, giving attachment to the tensor veli palatini. Then this is just hooking around the hamulus and forming the palatine aponeurosis, which is shown in the little pinkish brown color. Okay. So that's this, and the green structure is actually they have shown the pharyngeal muscles, the constrictor muscles of the pharynx. Let's talk about the levator velar palatini. This muscle originates from the medial aspect of the auditory tube. So the almost similar picture, the schematic picture. This is auditory tube. So from the lateral aspect, we had seen the attachment of the tensor velar palatini. Now, if you see the medial and the inferior aspect of the tube, gives attachment to the levator velar palatini, which get attached to the superior aspect of the palatine aponeurosis. Okay, so from both the side, this muscle comes and get attached to the palatine aponeurosis and sort of form a sling to lift the palate up. So this is the attachment of the levator velar palatini muscle. In this picture, we can clearly appreciate this is the muscle. Let me use this color. Okay, this is the levator velar palatini muscle. From the inferior and the medial aspect of the auditory tube gets attached to the palatine aponeurosis on its superior surface. Remember, it is on the superior surface here. This is the superior surface of the palate. If we see this the rightmost picture here, then this is the levator velar palatini. दिस इज टेंसर वेलार palatini है ना, उसने आके पहले अपोन्यूरोसिस बना दिया यहाँ पे और ये लेवेटर बाद में गया और इसके सुपीरियर सरफेस पे जाके अटैच हो गया, ये लेवेटर वेलार palatini हो गया. Fine. So it is easy to remember from the medial and inferior aspect of the auditory tube up to the superior surface of the palatine aponeurosis forms sling when it is with the fellow on the counterpart on the other side. Okay, so together the right and left components together forms this sling to lift the soft palate. The marking is on the levator velar palatini here also. Next muscle is the palatopharyngeus muscle. The palatopharyngeus, name is suggesting, that is extending between the palate and the pharynx. Here, first see at the superior aspect of the palate. Here, this is the palatine aponeurosis. This is palatine aponeurosis. See, so this palatopharyngeus muscle originates from the superior aspect of the palatine aponeurosis. Anterior, it has two slips. One is anterior to the attachment of the levator velar palatini. This is levator velar palatini. So one component is anterior to it, the other component is posterior to it. Right? So we have this component which is posterior to it, and this component which is anterior to the attachment of the levator velar palatini. So these two components, when they move laterally and downwards, they fuse and forms the palatopharyngeus muscle. So this is palatopharyngeus muscle. This muscle, the fibers, when they are running downwards, they spread out on the undersurface of the pharyngeal muscles, and then it is further joined by another muscle which is called as the stylopharyngeus muscle, which is coming from the styloid process, and the salpingopharyngeus muscle. So salpingopharyngeus muscle is coming like this, and then it represents the third head of the palatopharyngeus muscle. So this would be the fibers of the salpingopharyngeus. So together and with the stylopharyngeus, further this muscle get attached to the downwards. It is attached to the here. I'll see this. This is the palatopharyngeus muscle, and if this is the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage, get attached to the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. Remember this. This is hyoid bone. So if this is the thyroid cartilage, this is the schematic picture. They have made this as the larynx. So somewhere here would be the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. This muscle together with all pharyngeal longitudinal muscle get attached to the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. So lower attachment is on the posterior border of thyroid cartilage. Remember this. So attachment is in the form of two slips from the palatine aponeurosis. The anterior, the in between the slips, we have the attachment of the levator veli palatini muscle. So this is the palatopharyngeal muscle. Let's talk about the palatoglossal muscle. Again, this muscle is originating from the under surface of the palatine aponeurosis. Remember, the palatoglossus is from the under surface of palatine aponeurosis. I'm writing short form. So under surface of the palatine aponeurosis, that's the origin, and the insertion, it moves anterolaterally, and then at the base of the tongue it just fuses or intermingled with the fibers of the intrinsic muscles of the tongue. So it reaches up to the base of the tongue. Here it just fuses with the intrinsic muscles of the tongue. This is the palatoglossus muscle. So the space between the palatoglossal and the palatopharyngeal component, it is occupied by the tonsil, the palatal tonsil, called as the tonsillar fossa or the tonsillar sinus. When it is covered with the mucous membrane, they are called as palatoglossus and the palatopharyngeal folds. Nerve supply of soft palate. The motor supply is by the pharyngeal plexus, and all the muscles of the soft palate, they are supplied by the pharyngeal branch of vagus nerve. The muscles are supplied by the pharyngeal branch of vagus nerve, whereas sensory supply is by the pharyngeal branch of glossopharyngeal nerve, and vasomotor supply comes from the superior cervical ganglion. So remember, the pharyngeal plexus is responsible for supplying all the muscles of the soft palate except tensor veli palatini muscle, which is supplied by a branch from the mandibular nerve. Remember this, all muscles by vagus nerve except tensor veli palatini, which is by the mandibular nerve. So all this is occurring through the pharyngeal plexus. What is pharyngeal plexus? This is the plexus of nerves formed in the posterior lateral wall of the pharynx or in the retropharyngeal space, made up of pharyngeal branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is sensory, pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve, which is motor, and fibers from the superior cervical ganglion, which acts as a vasomotor fibers. So here is the area. This is the posterior wall of the pharynx. This is posterior view, in which this is the structures in the carotid sheath here. The vagus nerve is seen in the middle and posteriorly between the artery and vein. So it gives branches here. At the same time, there is a branch from the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is the ninth nerve. This would be the area of the jugular foramen. Okay, so here is the placement of the pharyngeal plexus, mainly at the posterior aspect of the middle constrictor muscle, mainly at the posterior part of the middle constrictor muscle. Remember this sensory supply, except the nasopharyngeal area, whole rest of the area is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Nasopharynx also receives supply. The area close to the nasopharynx also receives supply from the palatine nerves from its middle and the posterior branches. The spatial sensory, which is present in the form of taste sensation, is supplied by the lesser palatine and the glossopharyngeal nerve also. Okay, so depending on the area, it is supplied by the lesser palatine nerves and the glossopharyngeal nerve. Secretomotor supply, it is the post-ganglionic fibers from the pterygopalatine ganglia through the greater and the lesser palatine nerves. Remember, the secretomotor fiber by the greater and the lesser palatine nerves, sensory, spatial sensory by the lesser palatine and the glossopharyngeal nerve, sensory supply by the middle and the posterior branches of the palatine nerves and the glossopharyngeal nerve, and motor supplies by the pharyngeal branch of the vagus nerve except the tensor villi palatini, which is supplied by the mandibular nerve. So we can appreciate the sensory supply. It is by the palatine nerves, which is coming from here. The anterior branch will supply the hard palate, whereas the middle and the posterior will supply the soft palate. Here in this is the area of the pharyngeal plexus supplying the pharynx. The taste sensation. Fibers which are carrying the taste sensation. So the taste buds which are present in the mucosa of soft palate, the sensation is carried by the lesser palatine nerve. Then this lesser palatine nerve will pass through the pterygopalatine ganglion, without relay. Then will reach to the nerve of the pterygoid canal. Then through greater petrosal nerve, geniculate ganglion, and then through the nervus intermedius, they will reach up to the nucleus of tractus solitarius. So starting from the taste bud, lesser palatine nerve, remember, pterygopalatine ganglion, the nerve of pterygoid canal, and then through the greater petrosal nerve, geniculate ganglion, nervus intermedius, all these are the part of the seventh or the facial nerve, and then it reaches to the tractus solitarius. If we have to talk about the secretomotor pathway, secretomotor pathway is for the palatine glands. These are the mucus secreting glands present in the soft palate. So the fibers will start from the superior salivatory nucleus. Then the nervus intermedius component of the facial nerve, geniculate ganglion, greater petrosal nerve, then deep petrosal nerve. Then it will reach up to the nerve of pterygoid canal, then reach up to the pterygopalatine ganglion, which is present in the pterygopalatine fossa. है ना, किया है हमने. So it is all reaching up to the pterygopalatine fossa. Then these are secretomotor fibers, so they will relay here, and then through the branches of the maxillary nerve, they will be supplied to the glands of the soft palate. So which all branches? The anterior palatine nerve, then lesser palatine nerve, and then reach up to the glands in the soft palate. Okay, so this is about the secretomotor pathway for the palatine glands. Coming to the arterial supply of soft palate. Soft palate is supplied by the palatine branches of the maxillary nerve, facial nerve, and ascending pharyngeal artery. So there are three arteries. The greater palatine branch of the maxillary artery. So this greater palatine artery, which is going to supply the soft palate as well as the hard palate. That is the first artery. Then ascending palatine branch of the facial artery. Remember, this is facial artery. This is facial artery. This is the ascending palatine branch, which supplies the soft palate, tonsils, and the nearby area. So ascending palatine branch of the facial artery. Then third is the palatine branch of the ascending pharyngeal artery. This is ascending pharyngeal artery. This is the ascending pharyngeal artery. Let me use the pointer. ये ascending pharyngeal artery है. ये इसकी external carotid artery है. ये common carotid, ये internal, ये external की branch है ascending pharyngeal, है ना. So this is ascending pharyngeal artery. This gives branch to the palate for supply. So these are the arteries which will supply the palate. Venous drainage of palate. Veins from the hard palate and from the soft palate. Through the hard palate, here the venous blood from the hard palate drains through the greater palatine veins ultimately into the pterygoid venous plexus, and from the soft palate it is into the pharyngeal venous plexus also. So together from these two plexuses, it is ultimately going to drain into the maxillary vein, into the facial vein, and then into the internal jugular vein. So that's about the venous drainage of the soft palate. About the lymphatic drainage, the lymphatics from the palate, ultimately they are going to drain into the retropharyngeal group of lymph nodes and then into the upper deep cervical group of lymph nodes, the chain which is present along the internal jugular vein. So that's the lymphatic drainage of soft palate. Then developmental defects. Before that, because we have not done the development yet, I'll just brief you about the development of the palate. So here in this picture, this is the triangular anterior portion. This is called as the primary palate or the premaxilla, and the rest of this is called as the secondary palate. Here, mainly this is actually the part which is derived or developed from the frontonasal, median frontonasal process of the which gives rise to this premaxillary part or the primary palate. Okay, then the posterior part, which is three, it is bilaterally, it is derived from the maxillary process, the palatine process of the maxillary process. The face is developed from the frontonasal process, maxillary process, and the mandibular process. So the first process, the frontonasal, is in the midline, gives this primary palate, and on the sides posteriorly here it is from the palatine process of the maxillary process, and then from the palatine process these are the posterior extension which will later give rise to the soft palate. So this is the part which is developed in development. It is the last part which is going to develop. So this is the upper the anterior triangular portion. This is the primary palate. Rest is the secondary palate. So it is possible that there is a complete non-fusion between the primary palate and the halves of the palatine process. So that's the complete cleft palate. That's called a complete cleft palate, which can be unilateral or bilateral. This is the unilateral on one side. The bilateral is this. This is complete cleft palate. Partial cleft palate, only the posterior, the uvula, as I said, this is last to develop. So there can be non-fusion between the two halves of the uvula, or only the soft palate is bifid, and then it is possible that the cleft can extend up to the hard palate, but there is not reaching up to the primary palate. So these are the deformities which are possible. Movements and functions of the soft palate. Soft palate movement is important for the regulation of pharyngeal isthmus and oropharyngeal isthmus. Pharyngeal isthmus get closed when the soft palate moves up and posteriorly, whereas oropharyngeal isthmus get closed when it moves downwards and anteriorly. If this is hard palate, posterior end, and this is soft palate hanging from the posterior end with the palatine aponeurosis and the muscles within it. Okay, so we know that levator velli palatini muscle is attached on the superior surface of it and forming like this. So this is of one side and this is of the another side. Okay, and the palatoglossal muscle, palatoglossus, is attached like this, making a sling on the inferior aspect of the palate. And there's a third muscle which is called as the palatopharyngeus muscle. It goes, some fibers of it runs horizontally, reach up to the posterior pharyngeal wall from both the sides. So it is making sling like this. So this is of another side. So this is covered with the mucous membrane called as Passavant's ridge. Passavant's ridge, right, DGE. And with the soft palate anteriorly, this is called as the pharyngeal isthmus. So soft palate with the Passavant's ridge, it's called as a pharyngeal isthmus. So this isthmus is controlled by the contraction of the levator velli palatini muscle and the palatopharyngeus muscle. So levator velli palatini muscle and the palatopharyngeus muscle. Palatopharyngeus muscle controls when they contract. Levator velli palatini will contract and lift the soft palate up like this, up and posteriorly, whereas this is going to bring the lateral wall together. So with this, there is a closure of the pharyngeal isthmus. For closure of the oropharyngeal isthmus, this is important to separate the oral cavity from the pharynx. It is important when while chewing and sucking, we can breathe because the oral cavity gets separated from the pharynx. So it just keeps the air passage and the food passage separate while chewing and sucking. So the palatoglossal muscle, which is attached to the base of the tongue, if this is the tongue, the base of the tongue, then it lifts the base of the tongue up and approximates the two palatoglossal arches to close the oropharyngeal isthmus. So this is how it controls the action of swallowing and the mechanism of voice production. So both of them, they are controlled or regulated by the movement of the soft palate. So that's about the main functions of the soft palate. Now about the tensor velli palatini muscle, when it contracts, it makes the soft palate tense. So that helps in directing the food to the laryngopharynx. The tensor velli palatini and the levator velli palatini, because they are attached to the auditory tube. The tensor velli palatini from the lateral aspect, whereas levator velli palatini from the medial and the inferior aspects. So when they contract, they just dilate the tubes. So they are also causing dilatation of the auditory tube. That is another additional function of the tensor velli palatini and the levator velli palatini. So that's all about the functions of the soft palate. When soft palate muscles are paralyzed, which can happen in case of the hypothyroidism or some neurological disorders or in alcoholic person, then in that case there occur nasal regurgitation of the food and fluid, because the pharyngeal isthmus is incompetent, and the nasal towing of voice is there because of the nasal escape of the air, and there is a flat palatal arch. The flattening can happen on both the side depending on the disorder, or can be unilateral. So flat palatal arch can be found in soft palate paralysis. So that's all about the movements and function and about the soft palate. Thank you so much for the patient listening. I'll give you assignment in the next segment of this lecture. So that's all. Thank you.